Hello, and welcome to God's Hookups television show. This is Dr. Barbara Young, your host, and this is a show that features up close and personal interviews with guests from all walks of life who share their stories about unexplainable blessings, successful events, and extraordinary miracles and encounters that can only be of God's hookup. You'll receive hope, enlightenment, encouragement that will feed your spirit and your soul. Now, to my guest today. Well, welcome, Infinity Dawn. It's so wonderful to have you on the show today. Welcome to Hookups.
Thank you.
Great. You look great. Well, to my viewers out there, this is Miss Infinity Dawn. She is a coach, a motivational speaker, and she's a breakup and divorce coach. You've got to hear this woman today because she really works with a number of individuals to help them navigate who are seeking answers and to change their lives. And she's been there to help so many women change their lives. And today she is going to share her God's hookup story. So, Infinity, the first thing I want to know is your name, because I had someone earlier on the show and he said, Infinity Dawn. What an interesting name. So could you share with me, as we shared in the green room, I asked you this question about how Infinity, your first name, came about, because it is unusual, but it's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, my parents were big hippies, and it's my given name, and I feel like I dodged a bullet. It could have been a little weirder, so it's worked out well.
So he thought, well, Infinity, this will be the name. Okay. Well, Infinity Dawn, and you took on, is Dawn your middle name?
Yes, Dawn's my middle name, because the sun was coming up, of course, when they came up with my name. So Dawn it was.
Oh, wow, Infinity Dawn. That is so beautiful. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I want to hear a little bit about your God's Hookups, because I know you do a lot of work with women and breakups and divorce coaching. So share a little bit about your experience and how you actually navigated, or God sort of moved you in that direction. So share your God's hookup.
Sure, thank you. First of all, I just want to say I'm grateful, I'm excited, and I am so nervous to be here. Well, it's not you. It's not you. It's me, right?
Yeah.
It's not a story that I typically share in great detail. So, if I share it, it's like in a controlled environment. Like I'll write a little bit about it, or whatever. But so you're getting the whole thing.
That's great. But I'm sure you appreciate it.
Thank you. So my story is very much connected to my business and what I do now, where I help women and sometimes men too, going through the transition from divorce to being a successful single person. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of resentment that you carry with you through the process. So the faster we can accept our own responsibility for, the faster we can clean up our side of the street, the more quickly we can have the next healthy relationship. So anyway, I'm a certified life coach. That's my general background. And I'm also a former Weight Watchers leader. So that was the beginning of my official coaching journey, was with 5 years with Weight Watchers. And then in 2016, I niched down to coaching single people and people going through divorces with my company, The Infinity Shift. And it's been several years now, and it's been wonderful. So my passion for coaching was born from this story right here that I'm about to tell you, because the adage is teach what you know, right? Yeah. And I know I'm not the only person serving humanity from a place that was once painful. If you can't look back at an awful thing, though, and see the good that came from it, you're not growing. There's more growth to be had and to do. Okay. You ready?
Okay. All right.
Okay. Just keep breathing. So my early childhood and my I told you my parents are, crazy hippies and wonderful. They divorced when I was very young. So I was raised here in California by my mom and my dad's whole family lived back east. So I'd go back and forth. And I had always leaned toward people pleasing, just in general, friendships, relationships. That was the most important thing to me my entire childhood. And my mom and my grandma and I, we ran a theater when I was a child. So, well, I didn't have much to do with it, but but I was there. So they ran a theater, and we lived on the upper floor of the theater. So so I was literally raised in the theater. So I have this background, actors in and out, and I was in plays and things. So from very, very early age, I have been trying to see life from another perspective. So, in the theater, they call it finding your motivation when you're getting in character. So now that I'm in the entrepreneurial world, it's referred to as finding your why. Well, I've been doing that my entire life, not just for myself, but for other people. So that made the transition to coaching just so natural. So anyway, my parents, as I told you, they were very, liberal, hippie. And it just so happens that my best friend in high school was a member of an extremely right-wing fundamentalist church. And I had a crush on her big brother. And so I ended up in this church. My parents were so happy. But I found something there. I found connection with people. Remember, I said relationship, the most important thing to me. Yeah. So I found a youth group where, I was in high school. So all of the kids at school were like partying and drinking, and I still wanted those friendships, but I found this group of kids that was like, the fun things they did was they played card games and went bowling and watched silly movies and had sleepovers. And so it was a safe place to be myself, and which was the wonderful part of being part of the youth group. And in that process, I also met my now ex-husband, but my first boyfriend ever, who I then married. So we met when I was 17, and we got married when I was 21. So I became a part of this church. I was in it to win it. And, in a fundamentalist Christian environment, the hierarchy of authority was, children on the bottom, then unmarried women, then married women, then men, then deacons and elders, then Jesus, then God. So like that's the pyramid of authority. And I did everything within my little bucket of authority that I possibly could. I was on fire, and I loved God with all my heart. And I served in every way I could think of. I taught classes, I taught children all the way up to women. I ran women's retreats where we would go away for a weekend and, discuss things, and, hundreds of people would show up. And so I had a lively, wonderful group among the church for many, many years. But my marriage was very difficult. We married young, as I said. We were just a bad match personality-wise. I'm not going to, go into more than that, but because it doesn't matter. But when I finally filed for separation and moved out, it was December 2012. It was about a week before Christmas. And my kids at the time were 7, 8, 10, and 11. We moved into this house, and it just, you go through, it was hard. It was really hard. Yeah. We had nothing. We had no furniture. We were sleeping with pillows and blankets on the floor for months. And because, everything, money and belongings and everything's all frozen in the divorce process. So, so it was tough. And on top of that, I was in turmoil about my church family, because I'd grown all these wonderful relationships over the past almost 20 years. Yes. Yet, his entire family was there. It was aunts and uncles and grandparents, and, and it was just me, I had all my friends, but my family was not part of the church. So I felt that it was, if one of us had to go, it was me. So I started looking other places. So when the kids were there, when I had the kids, we would go to our home church. And when I didn't, I would go visit other places and try and find a new home. But my heart just wasn't in it. I mean, these were all my friends. I mean, my best friends were his family members, so it made it really difficult. And so up until this point, it all just kind of sounds like the heartbreak of divorce. Like divorce sucks. God hates divorce. It does. It sucks. But then it got worse. And here's where we're getting into the crux of my story. One Saturday night, about a month after I'd moved out, I got an email from the elders of the church that said that the next day they were going to be reading this letter to the congregation, and they said they wrote it personally to me, but it was basically the same letter they read the next day, and it was just full of stuff, like half truths and things that were misquoted, or something that I said, but it wasn't about the thing that I said it about, and it was just full of crap. And I got so upset that they were going to read this to my family, to my church family, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to send this to my lawyer, and I'll see you in the morning. So the next morning, I went to church, and I also insisted that they take my children out of the building. So they did that. So church the next morning after the lesson, one of the elders named Scott took the podium, and he read this 20-minute letter outlining why no one was to interact with me or contact me unless it was with the explicit purpose of bringing me back to my husband and therefore to the Lord. That was a direct quote from the letter. And this is a man who never really in the past had taken the time to get to know me, but suddenly he became the expert on what I thought, and what I felt, what I did, and what I said. So, he reported in this letter what he wanted to believe, and what, the other couple of elders had put in there as well. But here's where I know that God used this man for his purpose of saving me from this toxic situation, because it was so toxic. So there had never been any adultery in my marriage, but I walked out of the building that day a marked woman. There was no divorce outside of, your husband punching you in the face or cheating on you. So I'd broken the rules. My faith at that time was dashed to smithereens. I really felt God had deserted me and my children that day. And I'd be lying if I told you that even today I didn't care. Of course I care. It was the most painful thing I've ever been through. But here's the hookup part. After 8 years now of perspective, that event made no sense, none. It had never been done before. It has never been repeated since. The church has withdrawn from members before, but never anyone still sitting in the building, still trying to worship, still trying to be a godly person, still trying to love God and do the work. So it was so unique. It had to be God. I didn't see it at the time, of course. It just felt unfair and crazy. So in actuality, when I felt like I had finally said the truth, that I was unhappy in my marriage, I felt like I was being punished for that. But in actuality, it set me free. The truth set me free, just like it's supposed to, right? Yeah. Honestly, I never could have left the church without looking back. Like I said, my best friends were his family members. My kids would not have the perspective today on life that they do now, now that I have been outside. And I also know now who I can count on and who I cannot. And it's never the ones you think. Of course, my mom and my mom and dad, my family, but friendship wise, it tested people's mettle, and some people stuck and some people didn't. And I also started from nothing, and I became successful, and that is huge it was my goal for my children. And relationships I'd given up for religion came back into my life. So it's become this huge blessing. It's taught me true faith in myself, in the universe, and in what I believe to be God. So now I built the business that I built just for helping others rise out of the ashes, to make peace with their grief, make peace with their resentment, and build wonderful futures, because I know it's possible. I know it's possible. And that's my story.
Well, I mean, I really want to thank you for sharing, because I can tell that, that was a lot of pain to go through, and particularly in a religious, quote, setting. And I mean, it can be very devastating and definitely shake your faith. And so, but God, was there for you. And but God had a purpose and a plan out of, and we think of, I don't know why all of a sudden I thought of ashes grew roses. Out of ashes grew roses.
Yep.
And
Like the
how
phoenix.
we have grown and are ministering to so many people who are going through divorce and breakups and trying to reconcile that, all this guilt. I mean, because a lot of it is, did I do wrong? What was I at fault? I mean, I know I had a divorce, so I can understand. But Dawn, I cannot thank you enough. Did you have to go for counseling? Did you have counseling
Oh,
help?
yeah.
Someone like yourself who coached you and helped you along?
I did. I went through about 7 years of therapy before I actually finally pulled the plug on my marriage, but then years after as well, just one-on-one healing of therapy. I didn't experience coaching until business coaching,
Uh-huh.
but now I see the value. And when I was a weight loss coach, but I didn't put the connection together.
Okay. One of the things that I find in most of these stories, and you don't have to answer this question, but one of the things is that you learn so much about yourself, about the resiliency. What did you learn positive about Dawn, Infinity Dawn? That name, I love it. What did that came out of this
Mhm.
that describe all these positive things, Infinity, for my viewers out there?
Well, I think the most important thing that I learned about myself is that I can survive anything. That's number one. Um, but really, the reasons I can survive anything, the reason I'm resilient, is because I have honed my skill of building relationships, so that I always have a safety net. I know that I am always safe because I'm genuine, I'm authentic, and the relationships that I built are built on truth. I know that I'm going to stand by the people that are, that align with me, and it's okay if I align with people that don't have that same strength. It's it's my choice to be non-judgmental. It's my choice to be compassionate. It's my choice to stand up for what's good and right. And not everybody's there on their path. So I know that I've moved forward in my path, and my wish is for others to move forward in theirs. So I think that's probably the biggest deal, the biggest thing that's given me confidence in my life and my business, and as a mother even.
Yes. One of the questions too, that during these challenging times, Dawn, um, was there something special or that happened to you? Because one of the things that I do know from hearing from many women who've gone through some of your similar experiences is that having to come to grips to love them. You're a beautiful woman, and and look at you today, smiling and gracious. Was there something that happened where one day you realized, I'm okay? I love me because God loves me. Did something happen to you, especially?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's human nature to come to those moments often, but then also have the doubts. Nobody feels like they've made it 100% of the time. I feel I've made it a lot of the time. I know that I know my worth. I know that if I end up, if, I don't know, single till I die, I'll be safe. If I end up, finding the love of my life, which I think I've found, that I am safe, and it doesn't matter what happens to me because me is in here.
Yes, I think that's so important. I really can't thank you enough for sharing today. And
Thank
a
you.
little difficult. I know you were a little nervous, but you did really well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like Infinity Dawn,
Felt good to get that out.
yeah, I mean, you got it out, and I think many people can understand the pain, and particularly, I think the shunning of the church. I think that was probably the biggest, the second whammy is that not only the divorce. I mean, you made a decision, but then that decision caused some repercussions
Yeah.
that impacted you greatly. But
Mhm.
just a final word that you can share with the listeners of Hope. people are going through challenging times right now. And I know even that some marriages are teetering because of the confinement situation and this pandemic, and has impacted a lot of families spending more time with each other. If there's just a couple of words that you can say to my viewers out there as we close the show today, Infinity, I'm giving you the floor.
Sure. So I have been speaking to a lot of people lately that are in very difficult situations because of, being confined. It's almost like being put in a petri dish with an experiment, and seeing if the combination explodes or works well together, because you can't be distracted by your own life. So it's not altogether a bad thing that this is happening. If it's bringing clarity to your relationship and pointing out what needs to change, even if that's the relationship itself, I have to see that that's a good thing. I built my business on my passion for helping others rise up, and being compassionate to those who maybe feel guilty, or everyone feels guilty. I have to tell you, if there are problems in your relationship, if you don't feel guilty, you might want to look into narcissism. Everybody has some fault in it. But I want to remind you that, when the woman caught in adultery was brought before Jesus and they were going to stone her, Jesus didn't say, "Get that lady out of here, kill her." He said, "He who's without sin, cast the first stone." So I just want to remind you to have compassion for yourself, and don't punish yourself in a bad situation. Reach out for help. There might be, someone could say just the right words and turn things around for you, or you could read the right book, or just seek help. Reach out to me. I love to listen. Relationships are my thing. Just be true to yourself always.
Thank you, Infinity. I really can't, I appreciate your story and being transparent today. You were wonderful. And I know viewers out there, you have gained some information today about the love of God, and how even though we may go through troubled situations, challenging times, but with God above, he always has a plan. If you will trust him, have faith. We are in a faith crisis now. So I encourage you, listen to these shows, God Hookups. It's not about me. I'm not trying to push me. I'm trying to promote him. And that there are people who have incredible stories, such as Dawn and Josh and John, who were on, many of them. And then Jeff Griffin, who's coming on afterwards with the show that's going to absolutely overwhelm you. So this is about bringing light and encouragement to you. So I want to thank you, Infinity, for bringing light and encouragement to so many women today, I know, and men, we're not leaving out men, who are going through things. I love you. Thank you so much. Beautiful lady, keep doing the work that God has called you to do. Okay?
Thank
I know
you too.
Thank you. I will, believe me. And so for those of you today, I would like you to listen to my show, and you can receive an update for all my live and upcoming shows. Please subscribe on my YouTube channel at drbarbaradio@gmail. And you can follow me on any new radio, TV shows on Facebook. I tell you, you can absolutely enjoy it at Dr. Barbara Young. Just call on me. And you know what? If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me at godshookups.com. So I want to thank all of you today. We had one comment from Tasha Jackson that loved Infinity. So Infinity had an admirer today, Tasha Jackson. And thank you, Tasha. I'm showing you on the screen so that she can see you, Infinity, that yes, we love you. And I want to thank all of you for being on the show today. Absolutely, Infinity, because you were absolutely wonderful. And for all of my viewers out there, we're going to say goodbye. And I want to thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget, I have another show at 2:30 with Jeff Griffin. So don't forget.